Welcome to the lecture on the overview of the world economy and possibilities of the future. In this part, actually, I will just go over some models and basically some guidance our past economic experiences brought in predicting what might happen in the future. Um, what are our existing paths, existing uh, economic models? Do we have anything, any well, specific predictions for the future for certain type of change that might happen in the future? Certain type of development that might happen in the future beyond what we have seen up to now today, in terms of especially the economic system, and also what are the major questions on the future. Of course, I will go over them relatively fast. It's very much possible to talk on them using much longer time, but I won't do that today. I hope around an hour or maybe a little bit more or less will be spent to go over today's lecture. As always, I mean, in some cases actually I could not hold myself and spoke more, but usually what I was planning was an hour long, more or less an hour long lectures, which would allow, not in normal cases, you to look to the videos, look to the additional data, and think about the problem. Actually, if it was a real lecture, also express your comments, basically. Anyway, let's start. This video actually shows you some predictions for the future, but near future, 2030 actually. And it has actually shown certain trends and assumed those what will happen if those trends continue. Look to it and actually beyond thinking whether those trends are likely to continue and those predictions can come true. You might also think about what those predictions are also telling for the greater future. I mean, beyond 10 years, basically. Well, I assume. Let's say I stopped. Let's say I stop a few seconds now. Okay, I assumed you have watched the video. I'm now passing it. So, the well, when we basically look to the the Schumpeterian or the Marxian way of analysis, which actually I specifically take this analysis because Marxian analysis is type of the analysis which is actually caring for the potential future of the existing system. The neoclassical system analysis is mainly talking on different equilibrium points and basically the qualities or the characteristics of these equilibrium points in the capitalist system. It is not that much interested in how the system is evolving. Same thing is more or less true for the Keynesian school in general. Although there are currently some Keynesians that are interested in the overall trends of capitalism, on where the capitalist system is going, basically. But Marxian analysis, and also actually a different analysis, which has some parallels with Marxian analysis, Schumpeterian analysis of capitalism. Schumpeter is not Marx, and actually he has in many ways different from Marx. He celebrates capitalism more than Marx, but he came to the same conclusion. He argued capitalism in the end has to end, and for him it's not a good thing, basically. This is a bad thing also. So I will start with that, since it is the theory of the past, which was looking to the where the system we are living in is going, basically. So, well, we might talk on the basic characteristics are increase in the production levels. So as capitalism develops, more and more of all goods will be different goods will be produced. Mainly the system, even though the system also makes a lot of innovations and new products are being produced, but the main trend, especially at the time when there are no crises, was producing more of the same thing basically, and this overall increase in production level of different things like cars and clothing and things like that. We might ask what whether this can continue and what it means if it continues. At a certain at the beginning of the capitalism, basically, increase in scale of production was helping the world because people were not having enough, usually having just enough food, and in some cases less food. They need to have a healthy life, and other needs were also not met properly usually. But as production level increases, these needs are met, and after a certain point, we might say, at least biologically and psychologically, we got everything we need for to have a healthy life. After that point, we might still need more, but how much benefit we got from that more is a question by itself. And that question is one thing, and the other question is, of course, is producing more, how much it is actually benefiting, how much the world can actually continue this increase in production level is another question. That's one point. And whether our existing system can transform so that this overall increase in production level of everything can be transformed into rather just improvement of what we already have in the world, like having better cars but not having necessarily more and more and more and more cars. That's something we might ask whether this kind of a transformation is possible. Actually, here this is a very, very basic characteristic of the Schumpeterian and Marxian analysis, basically. So the second thing is development of technology and labor productivity. Labor productivity is the main means to increase the profits, so that you can give workers less share, because the workers can produce. The time workers need to produce what they need for survival will be less, basically. So, and because of this, increase in labor productivity was the main drive of the capitalist system, and that's the thing. That's also the main motive, which is also leading the development of the technology. And where this will lead is also another question. Will this lead to the point that the workers' productivity will be infinite in a way? No worker is needed for production, or if the amount of labor needed from the workers will be negligible. And even if this is not the case, if the trend of increasing labor productivity, where will it lead us? Will it lead us with a society with more unemployment and people who have no function in the economic system? Or is it possible to have somehow determine the working time, and can we end up with a world where actually the working time is much smaller, if not negligible, maybe still a smaller working time, like 4 hours and 5 hours per day, which might leave us with a lot more free time. And then increasing communication and cooperation around the world. The economic system is getting more integrated. Everything is more basically changing. Products that are produced in the world are changing hands, And where is this leading us? Well, as the world gets more integrated, is it possible for an economic system to run without, let's say, supervision of international or national institutions, and to what extent national and international institutions they are able to work? I mean, to what extent we can deal with? I mean, national institutions are sufficient, and what's their role in this world with increasing cooperation, and to what extent we need international institutions, and what should be their role relative to the national institutions. So those are some main questions related to the trends of the capitalism. Again, I'm not making full Schumpeterian analysis. I mean, there he also makes predictions on the end of capitalism, basically. Just that maybe I should say that in 1930s, he thought that capitalism could survive another cycle, one more cycle at least, which will take around 6 years. We are at the end of this third cycle. And his predictions, just like Marx, were not that much positive for capitalism, although he was believing that's a bad thing, as I said before. But I'm not going into that direction. If you are interested, you can read Schumpeter and Marx. Now, we can look to Keynesian vision. Keynes in 1930s basically was arguing that he also take this increase in productivity, which is a basic trend which is likely to increase more and more necessities, and he basically thought that as a result of increasing this poverty, the world might come to a point where the poverty can be completely ended. He pretty much talked on the developed world, not developing world. He doesn't say poverty would end in the developed world. Do we have come to that point? For the developed world, actually, the production level is pretty much, I mean, even roughly equal distribution could completely eliminate the poverty. But somehow, even in developed countries, poverty still exists. And whether that existence is not anymore related to our inability to produce enough for everyone, or is it something systemic, is a big discussion. For Keynes, system was very much available up to this point in 60 years again to deal with poverty. And also we can even ask, well, maybe it might be even possible for at this point of the time to eliminate poverty in the whole world. Maybe poverty is actually not anymore a material but rather a systemic problem. And then, well, the existing system might also reduce the working time to lower and lower quantities, basically. And the main drive was at Keynesian time to reduce the working time to 8 hours, so that people have 8 hours for recreation and 8 hours for rest. Now the question becomes whether it is possible to reduce the working hour even more. And of course, I have talked on this possibility also in the previous slide. But the question will become also, how will this affect the people's life, consumption trends, and whether people do something else. What will people do something else if this recreation hours will increase all the way to maybe 12, maybe even more? I mean, maybe 14 per day. I mean, maybe we'll add another day to the weekend also. What does it mean for the people? So will people, what will people use to this extra time, basically, is a big question, that which is connected to the economy. I mean, will people use this extra resource to do what they want, to contribute to the economic system and to the society in the way they want? In that sense, in case what is being produced to be sold in the market will not be at least as central as it is today.